Alright, so after a long-awaited 2 weeks, we finally get Black Clover Chapter 325. This was a very short chapter nonetheless, but the action in this one was spectacular. The stakes have risen in this fight astronomically, and I like it. But it's kinda scary because this could be a good thing or a bad thing. But a bad thing is you not subscribing to the channel and notification bells on and leaving a like on the video. Now previously last chapter, after Zoro used his secret magic clashing with Lucifero, Yami and Nacht joined forces using the power of Mana Zone for release using shadow magic and dark magic combo by creating this amazing spell which is called Kid's Playground. In the midst of this spell, Yami was able to inflict a minor wound to Lucifero. After this moment, Lucifero finally acknowledged that humans have the power to harm him. And by acknowledging that, Lucifero transformed by using the full power of his 50% state of his manifestation. And that's where we see Asta and Yuno joins the fight, ready to face this 4v1 matchup against the King of Devils. Which then brings us to this hype showdown that happened in this chapter, Black Clover Chapter 325, which is titled A Starry Night. The chapter starts off where we see Yami in full excitement. He's screaming out, yeah, let's mix it up, now that he has Yuno and Asta on his side. Because even though in last chapter we saw that Yami and Nacht are a great duo, but this pair alone is not enough to take down Lucy. Especially now that he has transformed, and we saw that quickly when he was able to completely destroy Kid's Playground briefly just by the sheer presence of his gravity magic. And one thing I gotta acknowledge is that Lucifero, now that he has transformed, his gravity magic is even more devastating. Because as I was reading this moment in the chapter, I thought to myself like, yeah, there is no way they can beat this guy. With the bare minimal attack alone from Lucifero, Nacht acknowledged that it destroyed all their magic. Just by using the force of his gravity in one hand, this guy was on some pain type beat with his almighty pushes. Because it kind of reminded me of that. Yami expressed that if we don't end this quickly, we are going to get laid out fast. Because as humans, it's only so much they can do, and when it comes to devils, strong high ranks like Zagor or supreme ranks like Namba and Lilith and Megicula, so far it seems as though they really don't have a limit of how much mana they can use. And that is dangerous because you have to get rid of them quickly or else they are just going to outlast you. Maybe one day we will see a limit to how much power devils can use when it comes to their mana. We just never seen a devil at their breaking point. And I can confidently say that Lucifero definitely won't be the first, because if it already looks as though he has no limit just by using 50% of his power, then I can only imagine at 100%, which makes a lot of sense why Yami told everyone we gotta get him out of here quickly, because everyone is on their last leg. They've been fighting in this war for the longest time. The longer this fight goes on, their bodies are going to break down. It will not get better for them. We saw in Yuno when she was using so much mana to the point where her body was getting close to mana, she was slowly disintegrating. So the mages are at a huge disadvantage when it comes to devils. Speaking of disadvantages, we see that Asta can still use Devil Union mode, but he only has 2 minutes left. And since he only has 2 minutes left, Asta has to somewhat fight a little bit more recklessly and take chances because they have to hurry up and defeat him before they run out of time. And also with Liba, him having revenge all in his mind. So we saw in this chapter, Asta made a lot of risky moves that put him in bad positions in this fight. And even though when Asta used Devil Union, which brings out the full power of Liba's anti-magic, it came with a price in this fight. Nacht acknowledged that since Asta is in his Devil Union mode and is leaking everywhere, all his anti-magic, they cannot use Kid's Playground, which put everyone else at a disadvantage. But Asta is not truly comprehending what's going on because he's in fight or flight mode. Asta then used Demon Slasher Infinite Katana, the same spell that he used against the giant Lucifero Worm Devil. Despite how fast Infinite Slash is, Lucy was able to teleport right out of it by warping gravity. After Lucy dodges, he tells Asta something which is kind of the theme of Asta's character in the entire story. He tells him that you are by far the most dangerous person here, but you are the easiest to kill. And this is the clear-cut difference when it comes to power and skill. Asta has the power to destroy devils, however, with his skill, he still lacks in that department. Because we saw with Nama and Lilith, even though he was not fast enough to reach them, his Demon Destroyer sword came into play. But when they fused, Asta could not reach them. Thanks to Nacht for holding them down, he was able to do the final blow. Anti-magic is by far the most dangerous power source in the world of Black Clover, but Asta is not the most dangerous person as a fighter, which is why Lucy said he is the easiest to kill. We are starting to see the pros and cons to what Asta power is in this chapter and his glaring weaknesses. This is a good thing though, because this is Tabata's way of letting us know that Asta has a long way to go, and I am completely fine with that. Right when Lucy was going to do the final blow on Asta for the 20th time, Yami comes in to save Asta by kicking him away, which is very similar to what happened in a Dante fight. But with Lucy in this transformed state, Yami's katana, well, his World Tree magic sword, is no longer cutting through. But Lucy does something to Yami's arm which jacks up his arm in the process. Not sure if it is cut off or it just completely broken, but that is something that we would just have to figure out next chapter. But this put Yami in a vulnerable position, and that is when Yuno came in using conjunction with his star magic, pulling him away. And I have to say that Yuno was really the star of this chapter, no pun intended, but he was really carrying when it came to his conjunction spell. Because with conjunction spell, he can be everywhere on the battlefield and evade everything and also help others evade things if they are under the stars. So he's their best support when it comes to this entire fight. However, at the end of the day though, Yami and Asta are the ones that have the power to truly defeat Lucifero. But how can Yami manage to do that with just one arm, which Nacht explained? And Yuno, on the other hand, cannot follow Asta with his star magic either because Asta's anti-magic and is overflowing everywhere, and he hasn't fully recovered. So this put Yuno and Nacht in the middle of a decision on who do they bet on, Yami or Asta. We then see something in this chapter which I gotta say that this was probably the most impressive I have ever seen Lucifero use his gravity magic, where he crushes Nacht's arm just by the force of gravity and without even grabbing it. He just crushed it, which we can say that this was somewhat the first attack spell we saw from Lucifero the way he uses gravity, because usually he just been using hands. And when I saw this, I'm like, yeah, they gotta get rid of him now because there is no way they can allow him to go 100%. Because if he's doing stuff like this at 50, then him just by the sheer force of his gravity crushing people, arms and everything, he's gonna crush somebody's heart. However, Asta comes through by slicing through the gravity pressure that was crushing Nacht's arm, which saves his arm, but in the process of doing so, Lucy teleports to Asta by crushing his knee, and man, this was so devastating to look at. Let's just say, until Asta fully is recovered, after this, he's not walking the same for a long time. But then Yuno comes through with Spirit of Boreas protecting Asta, but once he hit Spirit of Boreas with Lucifero, it destroyed the entire weapon. But in this quick moment, Yuno states that he's placing his bets on Yami because he has his captain's sword. A critical decision that can change the entire outcome of this battle, but this also puts Asta out of harm's way, which I completely understand why Yuno made the decision, but it was the right decision because Asta has been just getting thrashed this entire time. And with the 2 stars surrounding Lucifero, he has to make a decision if it's going to be left or right. But in his mind, it doesn't matter because he's going to kill them all. And that is how the chapter ends. And with this decision, this can honestly break Black Clover because what if Yuno put all his bets on Yami, he wagered all his bets, but this also in the process gets Yami killed. How would Yuno and Asta interact after this? How would they dynamic change their rivalry, their friendship, their brothership? This can change Black Clover forever, but I'm all here for it. But you guys let me know in the comment section what you think about this. Also, be sure to check out my other anime and manga content. Leave a like on the video. Don't forget to subscribe. You guys have an awesome life. Take care of yourselves. Stay blessed. And we're out.